We are 36 days away from the 2025 NBA draft. The NBA draft that is going to be one of the biggest things that the Bulls do this offseason. We're going to continue to talk about the draft, this time talking about some sleepers that could go into the second round that the Bulls could take a look at. We're going to talk about that, plus some news around the Jonathan Kuminga trade situation that's popped up, and dive a little bit into the mailbag. All that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content today, y'all. And I want to start off talking about this, man. So over the weekend, we got something from Brett Siegel that keeps linking the Chicago Bulls to Jonathan Kuminga, saying this: the Nets, along with the Bulls and the Miami Heat, are three teams with preliminary interest in Kuminga ahead of free agency, sources said. Both Kuminga and the Warriors could come to an understanding on a new fair contract, but the idea of exploring a sign and trade opportunity seems like the best path for both parties. Now, the part that's in that a lot of people are looking at is the fact that it does say that, and we've heard over the weekend that the Warriors aren't necessarily against keeping Jonathan Kuminga. And maybe that was with some of his play in the playoffs. Maybe that was the fact that they realized, hey, this thing with Steph and Dre and Jimmy, we got 2 more years of these guys, and then that's it, right? So, maybe that. But then it's probably just posturing, right? Because if you have the thing out there, the word out there that you could match that contract, is going to make teams come and realize that they got to play ball with you in regards to that, right? Now, let's be clear here. I think that the Warriors also are another team that could be out there looking to make a trade. We've heard things like Giannis and stuff like that, and maybe Kuminga could be a piece with that. But let's focus on the Bulls' possibility here, right? Like, what if the Bulls do really want to take a shot and a swing at Jonathan Kuminga? What would it take? I talked a little bit about this on yesterday's episode, and I'm going to bring it back here a little bit, right? For the Bulls to get involved in the Jonathan Kuminga trade, it's going to have to be a sign and trade. That's basically the only way that the Bulls can get there, unless they make a trade where they dump off a majority of somebody's salary and don't take much back. The Bulls are going to have about $18 and $19 million to play with in free agency. That means that that's the most that they can offer Jonathan Kuminga. That's not a level of deal where I think that the Warriors would be against trying to match if that ends up being the case and just trading them later down the road, which we have seen teams do before, right? Even if it's a player you don't want to keep, you use your restricted free agency powers basically to just re-up that player, and then you trade them later down the road. That is an option here that the Bulls could explore. And so because of that, it leads it to be this thing where you got to look at it and realize that the Bulls are going to have to do business with the Warriors. Now, what could that lead to? I think that Nikola Vucevic is the natural thing that you look for as far as including in that, but I need everybody to keep in mind here as well is that even if the Bulls were to do that, only half of Jonathan Kuminga's base salary as a restricted free agent counts towards salary matching in a restricted free agent sign and trade. It's a little bit different with unrestricted free agents, right? So that means that, let's say Jonathan Kuminga, and it's going to be more than this, but let's say Jonathan Kuminga signs for $20 million. Only $10 million would go towards the salary matching, which means that the Warriors would have to come up with a pair of another $10 million to match the salary of Nikola Vucevic and get that trade done. That's why restricted free agent sign-in trades are a little bit more complicated. They can happen, but they're a little bit more complicated than just regular sign-in trades, right? So that would mean one of a couple things have to happen. A, that Jonathan Kuminga would have to sign for upwards of $30 million, which is reported what he wants, and that's where it gets to, I don't know if I feel as comfortable with that, right? Or they have to work out a sign and trade in a different way. Even if they get a third team involved, keep in mind, they still got to send out the matching salary, so that's not going to stop them from having to attach another player. Now, what players do they have that would fit that? So let's say that Kuminga signs, let's just say it's just $30 million. That means $15 million goes towards salary matching, which gets you a lot closer to Nikola Vucevic, which means you gotta get close to about $4 million, right? Now, I know the 5 is the exact $20 million, but you don't have to match it exactly. You can take a little bit more back because they're not a second tax apron team. I had to check that. Yeah, they're $26 million below the first tax apron, so they don't have to match exactly. So that means that players like Santos, who they have, if they pick up the option on that, may be a possibility. Trace Jackson Davis could be a possibility. Podjaminski could be a possibility, but I don't think they're going to want to give him up. And then Moses Moody. So you're looking at maybe Moses Moody, but then again, I don't think they want to give up Moses Moody either. So it's going to be difficult, right? So it's not going to be this straightforward thing. Now, if they were willing to accept Patrick Williams back, that becomes a lot more feasible because at that point in time, if you sign Jonathan Kuminga to a contract close to $30 million, a P. Will's $19 million contract, that gets a little bit easier to match, right? So we'll see, right? Overall, I do think it can get done. I think both teams would have to very much so know that they have pieces that each other wants, whether it be Vooch or anybody else. And that would have to be what you use to make that happen. So, hear that the Bulls are sniffing around the Jonathan Kuminga thing. It makes sense, but I just want everybody to kind of realize it would have to be a sign and trade, basically. There's really no other way around that unless the Bulls do find a place to dump off Javon Carter's contract or they find a team to absorb the most of Nikola Vucevic's contract. But then at that point, what are you trading back to the Warriors, right? So it'll be that type of thing. It'll be interesting to see how it works out, but we'll see how it goes, right? But with that said, it is still draft content time. I want to talk about some prospects here in this draft that are sleepers. I talked a little bit about one of these guys on yesterday's episode, and that's Juan Behringer. If you pronounce it the French way, no, it's not Joan. It's not that. That's the female pronunciation. Well, I'm going off of what the announcers have said in the videos that I've looked at. But Behringer is again, raw athleticism. It'd be a total upside pick. Not to say he doesn't have something right now, but like I said in yesterday's episode, Behringer is somebody who has legit NBA size already, 6'11", 230 pounds at 18 years old, right? Has that Joakim Noah defensive upside type game, ability to switch on multiple positions, lob threat, amazing shot blocking, crazy athleticism. The upside that you have of this guy could be absolutely crazy. But I think when you look down at it too, he has a chance to not really turn out to much. But I like it. I like it. I like him a lot. I think as he continues to fill out that frame, he has the frame that he can fill out. He's already tough. He doesn't back down in the post. He gets up, right? I think when you look at kind of the perfect kind of big potentially to be there with Josh Giddey, that's Behringer. Like he brings all of that. The lob threat, all of that you look at, the ability to switch to multiple positions, all of that. How he a rim runner, a runner in transition. I think that if you were to get him, again, this is a sleeper pick, so these are picks that can go lower in the first round to the second round. If you were to get him, he can impact right away by just his ability to run the court. And kind of like with Yves Missi, a player that he's actually been compared to quite a lot, even though he's bigger than Yves Missi, that you saw Yves Missi go out and he was one of the better players last year when it was all said and done, right? And I think he could play that role for you when it all comes down to it as well. I like this kid's upside a lot, right? I think that he's had comparisons to like Daniel Gafford and those type of players. I like the potential of getting Behringer here a lot, and I think a lot of you guys would like him as well. So go check out his game. Let me know what you guys think on that one if you like this kid. But the next guy that I want to talk about as well is Tahaad Pettiford. This is a guy who played in Auburn last year. He was a freshman. He's 19 years old. He'll be 20 by the draft. He's a guard. But again, because I'm talking about guys that can go more towards the second round, depending on how things shake out, Tahaad is a guy that I tell y'all what, man, I love this kid's game. I love his motor. I think if you can get him in the second round, some mocks have him slated to go in the low first, and that makes sense because I could see a team definitely taking a shot on him because he just has that level of upside. 11 points per game, 2 rebounds, 3 assists last year, 42% shooting overall from the field, and 30% shooting from three. And what I tell you, as this guy being a freshman, and this was noted, I think the Ringer said this as well, if he was more towards 6'4", 6'5", he'd probably be a top 10 pick in this draft. That's the level of upside that he has, right? There's actually comparisons to his game and to Dylan Harper's game. He handles the ball amazingly well. He's a great catch and shoot threat. His float game when he gets down to it, and despite his size, he's a pretty damn good finisher around the rim as well, man. I love this kid. He's gotten comparisons to Reggie Jackson, Brandon Jennings, Jason Terry. And again, if you can get this guy in the lower end of the first round or in the second round, I think you're doing pretty damn good for yourself as well, man. So, there's some concerns, though. Of course, you've seen players like him and his size that just don't work out at the next level in the NBA. But I think that this is a guy that, if he doesn't decide not to return to school, because he still has that option to return back to school, which I think could probably do him well. But if he stays in this draft, he's a guy that I would love here for the Bulls to take a look at with their second-round pick, or if they end up making a trade, getting back to the end of the first round, which is where most of these guys kind of end, between the end of the first round, second round. But let's get into one of the guys who was one of the biggest risers in the draft combine that we didn't talk about because he's still slated to be a second-round pick. He could maybe go to the end of the first round, but that's Drake Powell, 6'6", shooting guard / small forward out of North Carolina. This guy has drawn comparisons to Thabo Sefolosha and Herb Jones. Long, explosive, great, 7-foot wingspan as well, with a 43-inch vertical, right? And so when you look at it, listen, I get it. I know people are going to say, but like, is that Dalen Terry? Here's the thing I'm going to tell you about Drake Powell if your mindset goes to Dalen Terry, and which, if it does, I can completely understand. I want to be clear there. But this kid actually has something now. When we drafted Dalen Terry, it was all, hey, this is what he could be. This is what, the possibility of what he could turn into. But when you look at Drake Powell, you see that this kid, and he amazed at the combine with both his shooting and the athleticism part of the combine. When you look at this kid, he's what we hope that Dalen Terry could be, and he's that right now. He's that right now. Now, again, he didn't play a lot in college as a freshman, 25 minutes per game. He did start 24 games, only 7 points, but 48% shooting, 37% shooting from three. Again, we're talking about players that could go more towards the end of the first and into the second round. Drake Powell, if he's there in the second round, I'd say this. If Drake Powell's there by Bulls pick number 45, if he's there number 40, I'm making calls to see if we can move up. Hell, I may even make calls, rim protection, lob threat, everything that you could possibly want is there. He's a raw scorer. But I'm looking at him for everything other than that. You're talking about a switchable defensive player that can also get in transition, finish around the rim. The defensive versatility, Drake Powell could be somebody who legitimately can guard 4 positions in the NBA. I want that. I need that on my bench. So Drake Powell is one of my favorite players that could potentially go in the second round here, regardless of position to the Chicago Bulls. I really do love this kid. All right, let's move into the next prospect, Johni Broome. Now, this is a guy a lot of people were brought up. Deanna's been on my head about bringing him up. One of the reasons that you're going to see him probably fall to the second round, he was another guy that I think the Combine did a lot of good favors for, but he's going to be 23 years old in his rookie year. What does that sound like? It sounds like Taj, right? Now, Johni Broome also has comparisons to Jock Landale with Australia. We've seen how he plays 6'10", 240 pounds, legit 7-foot wingspan when it comes down to it. His post moves are advanced. Already can score on hook shots, floaters, those type of things. The jumpers on the inside, basically 5 to 10 feet, he can make that. The rebound, you know what? The rebounding is great. All those things are great for Johni Broome. You know what I like about him? He's a tough son of a bitch. And sometimes, especially because he's not going to project to be a starter for you or anything like that, mainly, right? But you need tough motherfuckers off your bench. And I excuse my French on that. I'm sorry for those that that don't want to hear that in their sports broadcasting. But Johni Broome is a tough motherfucker. And I tell you what, I got a space for that on my bench. 18 points per game last year. As a senior, almost 11 rebounds, 51% shooting from the field. He can stretch the ball a little bit. 30% three-point shooter for his collegiate career. Don't want him taking a whole lot, but you know what else he does? Block shots. 2.4 blocks per game, 2.5 blocks per game over his college career. Again, Johni Broome was one of those players that if you take at the end of the first, you take in the second round, it's going to look like a steal for you because his floor is extremely high. I'm talking about ridiculously high floor. And the ceiling, we'll see, right? Like, he's not the crazy athlete or anything like that, but I tell you what, like I said, tough motherfuckers off the bench. Sign me up for him. The last guy that I want to talk about, this is a guy that some mocks do have the Bulls taking at number 45, and that's Tyrese Proctor. This is a point guard out of Duke, 6'5", 181 pounds, 21 years old. He's drawn comparisons to Spencer Dinwiddie, right? Really good size for the position. Solid shooting touch as well when you look at it. 40% from three. This guy, when you look at coming off the bench as a bench guard, if that's what you're looking for in the second round, you have that, right? Now, his ball handling isn't the best, but I think looking specifically at the needs of this team specifically, I don't think we really need ball handling. Now, of course, you want if you're going to be your guard off the bench, you want them to be able to do a little bit of that, and he can do that in the open court, but he's not necessarily the best ball handler or anything like that, but he's a guy that just gets it done. And I think I like the kid for his floor. Again, second round, I'm looking at that, 12 points per game last year, 45% shooting, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Again, positional size, 40% three-point shooter last year, like I said. Also almost a steal per game, doesn't turn the ball over. If you're looking for a guy that could be your Trey Jones replacement, Tyrese Proctor is that, right? So I know that guard isn't the biggest need for the Bulls that we see right now, but you never know what's going to be needed in the future. I think you do need guards off the bench. And the thing also is that he's a solid defender, not an amazing on-ball defender or anything like that, but he does understand how to use his size to get there, right? He uses his size, he uses his length, he can test shots, he does get into the passing lanes as well. I like this kid a lot. The Spencer Dinwiddie comparison really is what stood out to me. I like Tyrese Proctor a lot, but let me know that down below. But that's it. Those are some of the sleepers, some of the second-round guys that we have. We're going to continue the draft process. Let me know what you guys think. Who are some of the guys that can go in the second round specifically that you could like to be on the Chicago Bulls board? Let me know that down below. But it is Monday. Monday, we do like to get into overflow from the mailbag days. We got 2 that we're going to get into today. This one's from Corn.
What it don't do, King Drip, it's your brother Corn, man. Hey, man, I know I'm late to the motherfucking mailbag show. I am actually looking at your black ass right now. You just uploaded 22 minutes ago. As we speak, it is 5:38 in Las Vegas time. So my apologies, King, but that's how the night shift is. We work night shift. Now let me get right into it. Like I said, man, Rasheer Fleming. That was my top pick for number 12 over Derek Queen, over Thomas Sober, over whoever the fuck. And for him not to be on the fucking draft board, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, come on, man. Like, he would be the perfect fit aside Donis. He's like the thing about it, he is the prototypical fucking AK guy. 6'9", 6'10", 7'5" wingspan. Like, come on, man. He can shoot the 3, man. Play defense. Great shot blocker. Play the lanes. The only thing that he needs work on that I see watching the tape is his handle. And, to work more going, up on somebody like that. Like, more on his handle. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. And to be able to face up somebody. He can't do that. He can't face up. He can't, hit him with a quick jab like Derek Queen. He kind of like Boogie. I get it. I see his game. He kind of like Boogie Cousins and kind of reminds us of that, with his face-up game, with his handle, his dribble and all that. But like Drip said, he needs the ball primarily. He could be right there on the corner like always and actually will most likely make the fucking shot rather than P. Will. Like, come on, man. Yeah, I am very irritated. I hope this is just a dumbass rumor. I hope AK and I hope whoever is in the fucking scouting team is fucking doing their job, because you're not doing your job if you're not scouting for Rasheer fucking Fleming. Plain and fucking simple. You're not doing your fucking job if you're not scouting for Rasheer fucking Fleming. Plain and fucking simple. Get this shit together, AK, bruh. Get this shit together. This is the deepest motherfucking draft. Get this shit right and get this shit together. I am not fucking around with you, bruh. The Indiana Pacers and the Knicks is in the Eastern Conference motherfucking finals. Get your motherfucking shit together, bruh. Love you, King Drip. REC Red. Bless.
I'll say this, Corn, is that Rasheer Fleming, he did initially was reported as not being on the Bulls board, but I think that the Bulls did eventually meet with him sometime over the combine. So take that for what you will. Maybe that's a good sign that they do have him on the board. But like I said before, if you have a guy like Thomas Sorber ahead of him, if that's what the Bulls have, I'm not mad at it, right? I do get into the thing, because I think he has a higher upside than Colin Murray Boyles. I just do. I think he has a higher offensive upside. I think his game translates better to the NBA game. And Taj Gibson with a 3-point shot. Shout out to Brian. That is who Rasheer Fleming is, and he's also who we wanted Patrick Williams to be. He's aggressive. He can guard multiple positions. He rebounds well. He blocks shots. All those type of things. I like Rasheer Fleming for this team. If they were to go that route, I think that Rasheer Fleming offers a lot. And like you said, he's an AK guy. That is typically the type of players that we see that AK likes to draft. It really didn't make any sense to me that he wouldn't be on the Bulls board. But, we'll see how things continue to shake out. Overall, I hope that it works out the way that we need it to work out, because I think that Rasheer Fleming has ridiculous upside. I think he could pay off a lot for the Bulls. All right, let's get into the next one, man. This next one's from Mello.
Yo, what's going on, Hayes? This is Mello. Just want to tap into your brain again, bro. All right. Now, we're going to talk about the Bulls possibly making a move for Kuminga. Now, if they send Vooch and say maybe Ayo to Golden State, would that be enough to get Kuminga, or would it have to be another pick or something financially to take place? Because I'm thinking if they do a sign and trade to try and get Kuminga, and say that happens, and they go in the draft and get Sorba to play center, that would actually be an eye front court, moving into the future with Kobe and Giddey. Hopefully Giddey, they're able to keep Giddey and give him his money. But to make the sign and trade for Kuminga, send Vooch and Ayo, and sign and draft Sorba to play center, what you think about that? Or do you not think that bringing in Kuminga to play? Because I'm looking at Kuminga and I like his game to play along with Modest. And then with Sorba being that defensive center, that big body, and he's got a mean streak to him, and nobody in the Bulls really has that. So I really think that whether they make the trade or not, I think now that he should definitely be the pick. But just let me know what you think, man. See right.
All right, so here's the thing. I'm not against the Jonathan Kuminga. If that's what they want to do and identify, I'm not sending Ayo Dosunmu for Jonathan Kuminga. I'm sorry. And maybe you can call me a homer on that. Maybe this is going to be one of those times where people are in the comments saying, hey, you're tripping. Ayo Dosunmu is the only point of attack defender that we have. And I'm not sending that out for more offense that we don't even really need. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad at the Bulls taking a shot at a 22-year-old player who's shown the flashes that Kuminga have. But unless you're going to be this team that just says F defense, let's just even if you get a defensive big, you still need point of attack defense, right? Ayo Dosunmu is one of the only guys that we have to do that. We just saw the impact that Caruso made again in that Denver series against the Nuggets. I'm not saying that Ayo has yet shown himself defensively to be Kuminga, but I do think to be Caruso, but I do think he's shown himself to be more consistent offensively, right? So, no, I'm not sending Ayo Dosunmu. Ayo Dosunmu is the type of player that when you're not a playoff team, you kind of think, oh, well, we can get rid of this guy. We can get somebody else in. Then the moment you become a playoff team, you try to find a guy like Ayo Dosunmu. So, no, unless Ayo, that he's not willing to re-sign here, if you have those inklings, that's the only situation I'm personally moving Ayo in. I'm not moving him for anything else unless the Bulls just know he's not coming back here. He doesn't want to come back here. Then I'm moving Ayo. So, no. And as far as Kuminga complimentary to Modest, I don't necessarily think it's the best fit there either. Jonathan Kuminga is an on-ball dominant player. I want to see Modest Buzelis get more opportunities to score, not less. And I think if we do get Kuminga, while I can understand the reasons why, I do think that puts us in a situation where we're doing things similarly to what we did to Kobe his years here. We're continually changing his role every single year by bringing in people who take touches and opportunities away from Modest. And so I don't think he's a perfect complement next to Modest. I just don't think that. Like, Modest right now, it'd be different if Modest was like this defensive monster. He's not. He's a player that his best flashes have come offensively. We need him to work on his on ball. We need him to work on creating in the mid-range, his three-point shot. You'll be taking opportunities away from him there. So that's my personal opinion. Maybe guys feel differently. Feel free to leave comments there. Let me know what you guys think. That's my time for today. Make sure you guys are following us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end, love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.